Hey, Soul Summers, and welcome back to my channel. Last time I uploaded, I went over my very successful nectar retail store. So, as you'll recall, I mentioned towards the end of that video that I used a lot of that income from that nectar store. And if you haven't checked out my walkthrough, or not walkthrough, my playthrough of the nectar store, definitely you can check it out, and I'll link it at the end of this video as well for you. But I just did a little walkthrough on my most successful retail business, or one of my most successful retail businesses, where we're making about $45,000 a day, or every day that we open. Again, that fluctuates, but you can check that out. I won't go into too much details about that here, as there's a whole separate video. But the couple who own that store have diversified their assets. Sounds all fancy and stuff, but that was one of the things I was really excited about when For Rent came out, was the ability to be able to take the money that some of your more successful Sims make, and kind of invest it, making it feel a little bit more real life, more like real life. So what I've done is today I want to go over just some of the basics. I have another, I think it's a speed build of a modern farmhouse duplex, and I had originally saw that inspo pic. It's like one of those build blueprint plans, or with the pictures that you see floating around the internet. But and I instantly thought of this couple, and then I decided, okay, well, we're going to add another rental unit to their portfolio and see what kind of money we can get. So this is a duplex. In the speed build, you kind of see me build the exterior and just the walls and stuff on the inside, and it was just really lightly decorated. And I did that intentionally because I want these guys to buy the unit, uh, and then build them up over time with their money that they make, right? So I want it to be a little more realistic. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to probably lightly furnish the units, one, if not maybe both, just to kind of depending on time and how much time we have. But and then I want to, as I'm doing that, I'll walk through some of the basics for you in regards to kind of how some of the gameplay works. So I see a lot on, different forums and different socials about how people have a lot of difficulty with For Rent, and I definitely, a lot of people probably do. I personally don't. It's one of those things, like, I don't know why some bugs affect some people and some don't. I speculate maybe it has to do with computer specs, or what the case may be. I honestly don't know, but I don't have any significant issues with the For Rent pack. So I have a little bit of issues with, like, living in a rental, specifically a For Rent rental. But other than that, just a little lag at that point. But we'll dive in and get started here and get Chloe and Jasper loaded up, and I'll show you, kind of like walk through how we start obtaining the rental, how we set it up, and kind of walk through that process with you. So I will go ahead and get started. Okay, guys, we got Chloe and Jasper here standing outside their retail lot. Jasper isn't really looking too pleased, but he is going through a midlife crisis, so that is making him a little bit grumpy lately. But over here on the right, you're going to see the panel, and you're going to see where they have the rentals, and you'll see what I have highlighted down here where we're going to buy the rental. So that's where we're going to go. That's how I start off to buy a rental. So when you buy a rental, you can, I have mine right here in Windenburg, however it's pronounced, doesn't really matter. That's where I built it. It's a nice big lot, just over $70,000, 74, I think it is. So this is currently in gallery as a regular residential. So you can buy a residential, and then you'll just change it in the settings. So Jasper traveled to the lot with us, and you'll see over here in the left hand side is where we have some of our rental specs. So we'll dive in here, and let me just get this here so that we can start zoning out these rooms. I guess that's how what you might call it, is zoning them out. So I have 2 units. There's a duplex, so 2 houses in one. So what we do is we click, and then this next menu will come up, and we'll go ahead and status this as the first rental unit. It's blue. I can't see that really well, so I'm going to go ahead and let me just status this one. I'll change the color here in a second. So I just want every unit that is a part of this rental. So this is like the garage space, mudroom space. You'll want to go through and just status those all. Let's just get this color a little bit better so it's a little bit more distinct. Okay, so we'll just go through each one of these and just make sure. I always like double and triple check, because something as small as a tiny bathroom or a tiny little closet or anything like that, you'll want to make sure that you're statusing it correctly so that only the family who's living there enters that space. So if you happen to leave a room open, either Sim's not going to be able to get to it because you have it labeled as shared space, or they will be able to access it and you're like, why are they accessing my space? So we'll just get this upstairs taken care of here real quick. Make sure we get every room here. Sure none's missing. We'll move over to the second rental unit, and you'll see that there's a third option there to add another house or unit or whatever you want to call it. Let's just make this a more prominent color right from the beginning and get these all changed to make sure we're getting everything in here. And you'll see it is like a little bit slow, but I don't think that it's really anything that's super crazy. Just get these together. And one thing I'll point out is that, like, a fenced in area, like that backyard space over there, because it's only accessed and it's not like a walled in space, you don't have to, or you can't designate that space. Like platforms and walls and stuff like that, you can designate, but not that outside fenced in space. It doesn't matter as long as you don't have a gate to it. No one else is going to access that space anyway, because you have, in this particular house, you have to go through the back door to get to it. Even if I did want to put an exterior gate, the person who lives there, you can just lock that gate to anybody but household members or whatever you want to do, just like you would on any other lot. So let's just finish this up here. So we've got everything designated. That's the basis of it, right? So everything looks like it's in tip-top shape. I always like to just double check and make sure that I didn't miss any rooms. So let's see here. I'm just going to go through at this point and just kind of put in, this probably might not necessarily be my final choices, but I'm just going to designate the rooms. I like to do that even sometimes before I upload it to gallery, because a lot of times I'll spend a lot of time building, and then I'll run out of steam and I don't feel like doing the inside. I don't mind decorating an inside, but I can't usually do them both. I don't know why. I'll spend so much creative energy doing one or the other, and then I lose momentum. I don't build everything that I live in either. Like, I like renovating things that already exist there, or I like taking things off the gallery and maybe tweaking them to my needs, or redoing EA builds, because I have like a certain visual OCD that I like to see, like the certain positionings in rooms. So that's totally a me thing. But what I'm doing here is just to understand the placement of what I'm intending each room to be from the start. And then as I go through and quote unquote remodel or redo each space, I'll update and everything. So I don't think that I'm going to get into doing both rental units today, but I'll at least get some base stuff set up in each of them. All right, so I got toilets placed. I got some beds placed. We'll get some beds placed over here in this other one, and then I'll kind of move on to something else, because I do want to show you guys here on this panel on the left hand side. This is where you're going to count your bedrooms, so that'll factor into your rent, how many bedrooms that you have there. Sometimes the game will, like, I'll say that, like, for example, and I think we'll see that, I've seen it happen where you'll type in one thing and it'll say another somewhere else. I'm not really sure why it does it. I don't know if, like, maybe you forget a bed or something, but, you definitely want to make sure that you label how many beds and how many baths, because that can make a difference in the price point and the amount of people that can live there. Because there are rental settings where you can put restrictions on, how many people. We'll look at that piece of it a little bit later. But I'm going to go through and decorate here for you, and we'll just kind of speed build through this. So wasn't really feeling the vibe. I was certainly trying. But I'm going to go ahead and speed build through this. Kind of enjoy some elevator music here while I speed through this, and then we can get to the rest of the tutorial. But kind of just enjoy my chaotic decorating here for a little bit. Alright guys, so we finish up here and put some finishing touches on this first rental. I did decide not to fully decorate both of the rentals, but just this one. So one thing to keep in mind is that the nicer things that you have, or the more expensive or the more higher end things that you have, the better quality, so to speak, that your rental is going to be statused as, which I'll bring up that menu here shortly to show you. But so you want to make sure you have things like paintings on the walls. You want to have decorative things, maybe the nicer bed, the more expensive bed. You want to make sure you have a few different fun objects and different things for them to do. while they live in your home. So what I did was I did the bathroom, the master suite, the master bedroom, lightly decorated it. Like I said, I didn't go all out here, but I really just kind of wanted to see what kind of money I could get just from this little bit of effort. We spent quite a bit of money already. We now have under $100,000 in our funds, so we'll come back at some point and do some more renovations, but for right now I just want to kind of get some basics in here, and I just want to make sure that these bathrooms are set up. I mean, technically they're Sims. I mean, like, I've seen Sims bring a horse into a one-bedroom tiny house and live there if you have Live Stories on. So, Sims can apparently live in some pretty shoddy living conditions. So, and you'll see here on the second unit, the green one, I didn't really do anything. So, all right, let's see where we are at. All right, so over here you can see my rentals. You can see these are the different categories that come up, and you can see the status here in that center. I've already got quite a few green stars there, and you can see that my rent is already established, and I do have to go back to my home lot to be able to get a renter in there. So in that same panel over here on the right, what we're going to do is this is where we're going to fill our vacancy of our rentals, and it's letting me fill both even though the other one isn't full. So let's get this one. We know that it's finished, so we're fancy. It does automatically say that maintenance is poor, but that establishes over time once you become a responsive landlord and do things. I don't click any of these things at the bottom, because if I do, I'm getting phone calls, notifications all of the time that I have to do all of this enforcement and all of these things. For me, it's not worth it, and half the time they don't pay the fines anyway, so I don't even bother. So before I pick a renter, I'm going to go over and see what my max rent is, and I'm actually pretty happy with my max rent on this right now, and I found that renter. So then I'm going to adjust my rent accordingly, and then we'll go back, we'll get that person over here and get them in there slightly over $1,400. I'll adjust my rent accordingly. Now I'll go in and grab them. I always check what my max available and who is going to pay, because a lot of times the max available and you don't have anybody there even willing to pay it. So we've got somebody in there, and again, I don't pick any of those options, because they just, to me, it just becomes more of an annoyance than anything. Just pay my rent, just pay rent on time, and then I'm good to go. Do whatever you want, right? They do still, things come up, and there's things that become broken, and you'll get phone calls, and then you click, and I can't believe I'm getting this much rent out of this rental that just has toilets and beds. I didn't even put a kitchen in here. So here we are, and it's probably because it's a nice big furnished house, but again, see, this is one of the things that, can be a little bit annoying and frustrating with this game, is there's no rhyme or reason. I've heard of people really decking out a house and then getting like nothing for rent. So I don't know if square footage came into play here or what. But we got a pretty good chunk of change for each of these rentals. So I'd like to kind of just go in and see who I have here. So it looks like see, this is the first time I've seen him move out. Usually in my save files, he lives with mommy and daddy forever. So I like to see that he's found himself somebody and starting a life of his own. He's going to come live in one of my rentals. So I hope he enjoys the space. But let's see. Okay. All right. Nalani, or however you pronounce her name. She's going to come live here. Well, she's a mermaid, so she probably doesn't need much, right? She just needs the ocean. I don't know why she's moving to Windenburg, but there's water there. She'll be all right. All right. So you'll see here some of my other rentals. Like I said, I got quite a few. We're now over $10,000 a day, so that should put us over $70,000 per week in just rental income. See, I have a trash violation. This is why I don't like having restrictions in place, because And then if you don't address the restriction, your rating goes down, and then they get a sad mood bufflet because of it. So I don't even bother. All right. Just kind of look through here, and I'll let you guys look and see some of these other rentals. Let's go take a look at one here, and I'll show you. This is a rental that the building, and I don't go into it a whole lot, but you'll see here I have this unit. There's 6 here. They're not all completely finished, but they're all livable. They don't just have beds and a toilet. Some are nicer than the others, so some rents are higher than the other ones. One thing I was really disappointed about the For Rent pack is that you couldn't. I really wanted to run a retail store and have a rental unit above it, but alas, I still can't do that. Okay, my simmers, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the brief walkthrough that we went through. There's a lot of information to cover, so I appreciate any feedback that you may have, or anything that you'd like expanded on, or any other elements of the game that you might be interested in learning a little bit more about, or gameplay, or some scenarios you'd like to see played out. I've done them all, so just go ahead and comment on any suggestions that you may have for future videos. I would love to have them. And of course, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I am a new YouTuber, so I would obviously be super appreciative of a little like and subscribe, and that way there, when I get that notification, I can do my little squeal and yell to my husband that I got a new subscriber. So thank you guys so much. Dag dag.